Hi everyone, welcome to this next MACS webinar. Today it's about preventive maintenance. And before we take a look at preventive maintenance, let me first show you guys the IBM Maximo general overview, just to paint the picture around the work orders and where of course preventive maintenance are a very important part of. So if you can see here, work orders is placed centrally because it's a very important and really core functionality of IBM Maximo. On the left side, you can see, of course, asset and locations, which are on the work order and which could be on the work order. Then on the right side, we can also see inventory, two types that could be related, of course, to the work orders. Connected to inventory, of course, also purchasing and contracts could also be an important player when it comes to work order information. And on the left side, you can also see that one of the ways that a work order could be generated would be service request. And so if a service request is recorded or is requested, and as a sort of follow-up, a work order can come out of that. And then of course we have preventive maintenance. And preventive maintenance is one of those functionalities which can automatically create work orders basically on certain thresholds and certain setups that we do ourselves in Maximo. And yeah, let's dive today a little bit deeper in this preventive maintenance functionality and the things that are also connected to this. So first we're going to take a look at the preventive maintenance application itself. And here we can see the PM tab of the preventive maintenance application, basically also the details tab, actually, what we also call it. So this is the preventive maintenance details page, and you can see a lot of information here. At first, of course, the PM ID and also the description of the PM. Very important to just give a clear description to the PM and also make a very clear ID of what it represents so that you can easily find it back. Well, we can also see that a PM is site driven here because we can see here site Bedford as the site for this PM. And of course, a PM also has a status. And of course, could also have attachments. If it's necessary that you can attach some documents here, then that's possible. And then you see some other functionalities here. Forecast, dates logged, forecast exists. Well, we talk about that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and take a look at the details section of this page. Because on the left side, you can see on this example, there's only an asset. So there's no location or no route. In this case, this is a PM just for this asset alone. And there are multiple options here. And I will discuss the route option later. But you can then, of course, in this case, it's only the asset, but you can also create a PM which is only for a specific location. Well, in this case, once you selected an asset, in this case, you can also see its status at this moment. And you can also see here on the screen that you can have some multiple functionalities when it comes to lead time. So that is basically the time in days which you want to, up front, you want to create that work order already. So that you can say, I want to have this work order generated already 30 days before the frequency date. So that would be convenient, for example, when you want to take into account that you also need to plan some materials, that you have materials in stock, and that you, planning-wise, also want to see if people are available. So there are also some nice functionalities here in the details section. And then if we go a little bit more down, you will see the sections work order information and also responsibility. Well, responsibility, at first, that's just a little bit similar to what we know already from the work order application, of course. Here you can just fill in who would be the supervisor for this PM work order. Would there be a crew? Would there be a lead? Or do we also use a work group? So a couple of responsibility options that you have here. And then on the left side, very important information for the generation of the work order, in this case when this PM would be generating a work order. And there you can at first see the job plan. And the job plan, of course, we know it, the functionality with all the tasks, materials, and other information regarding to the maintenance task that is going to be executed. There you can see, and you can use a job plan basically to further automate this PM. So it is the preventive maintenance functionality is already a functionality which can make it very easy for you as an end user to automate the process of creating work in a certain way. And the job plan will define the details of that work. When you set up your job plan with all the tasks, all the labor or the crafts that you need for that work, and also the materials, services, tools, etc. All that information is on the job plan. And when that job plan is connected to the preventive maintenance schedule and that work order is generated, then that work order has all its information, and the only thing left to do is to just plan and schedule and assign that work order, because all the other information is already there, because that was already known in the job plan and on the PM schedule itself. So that's really automating your process and making it very easy to let Maximo do the work for you. And even with a cron task, which is automatically generating PM work orders, of course, then you only have to take a look the next day on your dashboard, for example, see what kind of PM work orders are generated, and just schedule and assign them. Some other important information, of course, would be the work type. In this case, I've selected the work type PM, and that's just the work type of the work order. I've also selected the work order status, and when the work order is generated by this PM schedule, it will get this work order status, waiting for scheduling in this case. And you can also give a priority to the work order, of course. Then the second tab of this application is the frequency tab. And the frequency tab, of course, when it comes to preventive maintenance, is a very important tab, because here you really set up the frequencies that you need to take into account, or that you want to work with for this particular maintenance job. So in this case, we're talking about a quarterly inspection and certification, and therefore I've also selected 90 days as a frequency. So here you just use the time-based frequency, because you also have a meter-based frequency, but here we use the time-based frequency to just set up 90 days as a frequency, and make sure that every 90 days this PM schedule will generate a work order for me. And of course it's based, and we see that, I will talk about this a little bit later, it is based, of course, on the last work order, completion date, and start date. So Maximo is calculating the estimated next due date for this frequency, also based on the last work order information that already was generated by this PM schedule. And then you have some multiple other functionalities here, for example, extended data, and you always have the ability to change this. You can even set a target start time for this work order in this case. But this really is an important tab, just to set up the frequency of your PM schedule. And you have multiple options here. In this case, the frequency units are days, but you can also have weeks, months, and even years. Yeah, and then the other one I already talked about, the meter-based frequency. There you can just use a meter which is in Maximo and is related to this asset, of course. It should be related. In this case, the run hours meter. And also you can use this meter as a frequency unit. So here you can see that when this asset has ran for 2500 run hours in this case, that's the frequency of this PM when it comes to a meter-based frequency. And then you can see clearly here how many units do we have to go, and also here again how many hours, run hours in this case, do I want to be alerted already, or do I want to keep the PM or let the PM generate this work order already by the amount of, in this case, 200 hours, so that you can be alerted, and that the work order also can be generated already upfront a couple of hours before the real frequency is reached. You can also see some checkboxes on the top here. I will talk about this a little bit later. Yeah, what we can do with that. So then the seasonal dates tab. The seasonal dates tab is quite easy tab actually, but could be very important, of course. In this case, you can see that you can set up active days for this PM here, and you can also set up active time and also active dates. So in this case, let's first talk about the active days. In this case, for this PM, I've set it to all the days of the week. That will mean actually that once the frequency says, okay, it is on a Sunday or a Saturday or let's say Wednesday, it will just generate the work order at that point. But if you say, well, we'll keep the weekends out of this, so we deselect Sunday and we also deselect Saturday, then once the PM will be actually generate a work order for this Saturday, you could, it will either place it on Monday, or when you select this checkbox, schedule early on a frequency conflict, it will then schedule it on Friday. So that's really what you can do with this. And that depends, of course, on the type of maintenance job that is for this PM. Then you have an active time where you can just set the target start time of this of the PM work order. And of course, underneath here, you can also see active dates, because I always take the example of an air conditioning unit. You don't want to do maintenance on that air conditioner unit in the middle of the summer when you need it at the most. And so in this case, you can just say for an air conditioner unit PM that you only want to have the active dates in the winter. Let's say from October until March, for example, that you then want to do maintenance on this unit, this air conditioner unit, and then you can set it up here in the active dates section. Then the next step would be the job plan sequence, and the job plan sequence, there you have the ability to actually use multiple job plans, and the PM schedule will use a counter to know which job plan he should apply at what moment. So let's say in this case, let's take a certain maintenance check for a certain vehicle that needs to be checked every month, but every 6 months it needs to have a very bigger maintenance job with lots of more things to check. Then you can set it up like that, so that every month it should use the first job plan, but let's say every 6 months it should use a different job plan, because that different job plan has a lot of more things to check, and it is a more enhanced maintenance job basically. So that's what you can use here on the job plan sequence tab, and the PM application in this case will automatically calculate it for you, that he knows, okay, I have now had 5 months for the normal job plan, and now the 6 month is coming up, so I need to apply that second job plan that's there. And you can define that yourself with the sequence here, and you can set it up like the way you need to set it up. So quickly in between, to just show you guys when a job plan and or a route is connected to the PM schedule, what it will do in the end when the work order is generated, of course, because in this case I'm just showing the job plan that is connected to this PM schedule. And so I have this job plan, it's about the overhead crane inspection, of course. That is the one that's related to the PM schedule. And here you can see the different tasks that I have. I have 5 tasks in total, with all the things that need to be done, with their duration. And also underneath here you can see the labor, and I'm pretty sure I also have materials attached to this job plan too. So this is all the information on the job plan, which is very important to make it fully automated when this PM schedule is generating a work order. So in this case, this is the information that's on the job plan. So if I now proceed and also show the materials on this one, so this is all the information that we have saved and set up in the job plan. And now we can just see, once this PM schedule is generating this work order with this job plan attached to it, you will see that that the work order is already for, let's say, 90% complete, and you only have to schedule and assign it. Well, in this case, I will generate the work order manually because normally this is most of the times an automated process which is running in the background of Maximo, of course, as said before, a cron task, and then it will do this automatically. But when it comes to demo purposes, of course, I'm showing it manually, and you always have the ability, and it could also be that it's in real day of in real life, it could also be at some point that you want to generate a work order manually. Then you have this option in the action menu. You can see it on the top here. So you open the action menu, and there the second option in this case is the generate work orders option. And once you generate the work orders option, you can choose to take the frequencies into account, but in this case I've deselected that, and you can see on the right here the dialog that you get when the work order is generated. So in this case, work order 1609 is generated by this PM with all the information, of course, which is related to the PM. So in this case, the job plan is connected, and you can see the asset and all the other information I talked about previously. And then here in the work order tracking application, we can actually see the work order that has been generated by this PM. So you can see that the description has been taken over from the PM. You can see the 5 tasks that we talked about on the job plan has been taken over, of course. And you can also see that the labor, but in this case also the materials, are all taken over to the work order. And that work order has been generated in a complete way because we have set up all that information in the PM application. So some other functionalities that the PM application has is one of those important things is the forecast functionality. And the forecast functionality could really help you give insight in the couple of next, let's say, months or years for this particular PM schedule. So in this case, I have I've generated a forecast basically for the next couple of months or for the next year, and you can really see that Maximo then will give you all those forecast dates, and also, of course, with all the information he knows from the PM, in this case the job plan. And you always have the ability here to give a new date to this forecast when that's necessary. In this case, I have an example here where the 4th of April of 2022 was not a good date because the asset availability the asset wouldn't be available on that date. I knew that already, so I've changed it to the 6th of April in this case. So that's what you can do here. You can just already upfront change the date that this PM schedule will generate the work order, because the forecast is just showing you the dates when it will be generating the work orders. It has not generated already the work orders. And that's very important to know. Then you see here that the forecast dates could be locked. This is a question that's on top here. The checkbox is not checked at this moment, but you have the ability in the action menu to lock those forecast dates. When the forecast dates are locked, then of course you cannot add changes like this, so you cannot propose any new dates. So in this case, that's one of those extra functionalities that you have here, that you can lock the forecast dates. So just something additional to the PM application and PM functionality, sorry, not the PM application, but when you, for example, want to have a sort of backlog list in the work order application when it comes to PM work, of course, this is one of those simple ways that you can do this. So if you know that all those PMs are generated with the work type PM, you can just filter on this, of course, filter on the specific asset, and then you have a sort of backlog list of all the PM work that would be that is in the system at this moment. And yeah, I'm just showing this because this question, I get this question a lot from customers and also from prospects, and yeah, it's basically very easy to do to generate a sort of backlog list for yourself, and even you can Of course, when you save this query or save the query with the work type PM in it, you can also easily place it on your dashboard, and you can constantly see the up-to-date information about the PMs. Because when PM schedules, of course, are automatically generating work, you want to know if something new has been generated. And yeah, with some kind of backlog list like this, you can just see this constantly and you are up to date constantly. So, and then previously already I talked a little bit about those earliest next due date fields, those, let's say, expected next dates that the PM application is showing. And there's some information to know about this. And at first, this one on the details page of the PM application, which is showing the earliest next due date. And this field is basically just calculated based on information such as when did the work order last started. You can also see it on top there. The last start date was the 6th of October. And then, of course, based on the frequency, Maximo will calculate the earliest next due date for you. So that's all based on information that's happening in the system at this moment. So if that work order has not yet been completed, or it wasn't even scheduled or signed yet, then this earliest next due date could be affected on that, of course, because you need to take this frequency into account. And then also on the frequency tab itself, you have this estimated next due date field. In this case, it's exact the same date as we saw on the previous slide, so the 4th of January 2022. And connected to this estimated next due date field, you also have those checkboxes I talked about earlier. And by default, the use last work order start date to calculate the next due date is selected. And when you also use meter-based frequencies, you also should consider those other two checkboxes. And those are also there are calculations behind that. And when it comes to the meter-based frequency, it's really interesting to take a look at those calculations. And we will put the link in the chat of this webinar, where you can take a look at those calculations, and where you really should consider to use also those checkboxes if you are using a meter-based frequency. So once again, we will make sure that the link would be in the chat somewhere about now, and just take a look at this information at this link to learn a little bit more about those checkboxes. So, and then I want to talk a little bit about using a route with preventive maintenance. So we already talked about a job plan that was connected to a PM schedule, but also let's take a look at what a route can deliver in functionality to the work order when it comes to the preventive maintenance schedule. So here we can see the PM schedule again, and on this case you can see also that there is a route filled in here. So I've attached a route to this PM schedule, and you already notice maybe that the location and asset fields are empty now because I'm using a route for that. So we will just see in a minute what is the information that's in this route. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here you can see the route that is connected. This is the same route that is connected to the PM schedule. I actually navigated here from the PM application. And of course, maybe you know already the functionality of routes, but here you can just make a very easy setup of all the kinds of assets that need to get this same maintenance job, this same maintenance job executed, which is meant by this PM schedule. And when you connect this route, it would mean that you take into account those 26 of sort of the same pumps in this case, and here you can set up what do you want to do with this when the work order is generated. So you can either choose it should be child work orders when this is generated, so then you basically get one parent work order with 26 child work orders. You could choose to make it as sort of entries in the multi-asset lucky table, so then you will get just you will use the multi-asset lucky section in the work order, and then those 26 assets will be shown under there. Or you can choose to just create one work order with 26 tasks in this case. So these are really the choices that you will have, and yeah, the root stops, as they're called, they will become one of those three things. So to speed it up a little bit, this is the work order that has been generated out of that PM schedule with that route attached. And here you can see that information. This is the job plan that was attached. This is the PM schedule that where it was coming from, and the route has also been attached and applied to this work order. And here we can really see this because the settings as they were now. So I chose for the child work order option. Here you can really see the 26 child work orders that have been created basically under this one parent work order that we can see on top here. So we have this 1670 work order, and underneath that 6070 work order you can see those 26 child work orders for every of those 26 assets that were part of that route. So that's really also one of those extra functionalities which can make it very interesting to use the PM schedule functionality with a job plan and a route, and then you can really automate a lot of things already in Maximo, and you only should take a look at scheduling and assigning again. So I also want to talk a little bit about predictive maintenance, because also when you use just out-of-the-box Maximo functionality, it could also be already that you, with the use of that functionality, and in this case it's called condition monitoring, that you also talk a little bit about predictive maintenance already. So just a little schematic overview, including condition monitoring. It's been seen here from the meter application basically. As you all know maybe that we have in Maximo three types of meters. We have a continuous meter, you have a characteristic meter, and a GOG meter. And those continuous meter cannot be used with condition monitoring, but I'm just showing it just to give the complete picture of this. And you can see here that the condition monitoring part actually is underneath here. And of course we have this characteristic meter and those GOG meters, and it could be part, of course, of an asset or an asset template. They're actually connected to those functionalities to this asset or location. Then you have the measurements, of course, and those measurements will have effect. They could have effect in the condition monitoring application, which then will, in the end, result in a work order. So this is just a little schematic overview of how this process would go, and let's just take a look at this application itself. So this is the condition monitoring application. You can find it in the assets module, and you can just set up a meter point actually here. In this case it's an outlet pressure monitor, and it is connected to the asset 11450, and a meter that's used here is the O pressure meter, so the outlet pressure meter. And you can see this is just all the information that's coming from the meter itself. The really important part in this application would be the upper and the lower limits. Here you can just set up the upper warning and upper action limit, and also the lower warning and the lower action limit. And once this meter, and it could be automatically it could be that a technician will manually fill in those meter readings, or that it can be automatically coming from, let's say, an interface with this device. And then once those meter readings are coming through and they are reaching a sort of limit, in this case, you will first get a warning, but if it's maybe already directly on the action limit, this application will take action. And action could mean, in this case, it will generate a work order based on a certain PM schedule or on a certain job plan. In this case, I've chosen to generate a work order based on a certain job plan, and then it's just that a work order has been generated to investigate the low/or high outlet pressure for this asset. So that's really sort of predictive maintenance already that you can do, that you already know, especially with the warning limit, of course, that you already can see that a certain asset is going in the wrong way, and you want to take you want to get Maximo to take action on this. So in this case, it will just generate a work order with a certain job plan, and all the information again on that job plan would be in the work order, and that one technician could go to that asset and to take a look. And so this is really one of those applications that I wanted to light out. I wanted to put in the spotlight today also, because it's also related to preventive maintenance, and in this case a little bit already talking about predictive maintenance, of course, already. So here we can just see that. And don't forget that you don't have to use a job plan. You can also use a PM schedule for that. And of course, on a PM schedule, we can set a job plan. So that's a choice you can make in the process. Well, then, if you scroll a little bit down in the application, you can still see the job plans above here. But a little bit down, you can see actually the measurements that have been taken that are also in the application based on those meter readings. And then you can really see if one of those measurements have caused the generation of a work order. So in this case, you can really see that on the 9th of February 2005, there was a certain measurement that really resulted in a work order, 1144 in this case. There you can really see how this functionality works. And the generation of a work order, the same as in the preventive maintenance schedule application, can also be done manually from the action menu. And then the last topic I want to talk about today is the topic projects/stops. Very quickly to show you guys some other functionalities, and in this case it is combined with the IBM Maximo scheduler functionality, but something that can come out of a PM schedule, of course, very easily, which is an entire project of parent and child work orders, or even a maintenance stop in this case. And just to show you guys, to give you guys a quick idea of how you could see this in Maximo and how you could work with this. So I already talked about the parent and child work orders. So here we have this work order. Well, let's say the parent is work order 7000, which is the whole project actually. So the whole project would be work order 7000, and underneath the whole project there are three types basically three phases. You can see here phase 1, which is design and procurement, which is work order 7100. You can see under that work order you have those child work orders with all the specific parts of this phase. So service building, hoists and cranes, canisters, and fuel handling system. And this is really the work order setup side of this project, and we will see in a minute how you can see this and how you can work with this graphically by using IBM Maximo Scheduler. And the reason why I'm showing this here is, of course, that it could also be very close to a PM schedule where you that you have set up in a way that you want to generate a whole project, in this case, with parent and child work orders. So when we take a look at this graphically, you really see the same thing that I showed in the work order with the parent work order. So you can see here work order 7000, that's the real fuel storage project entirely. So this is the whole project work order. Then underneath there was that phase 1 work order, so the design and procurement. And then underneath there you can see those project, those phase, different phases underneath that. You can see here the service building, you can see hoist and cranes, canisters, fuel handling systems, and underneath those, again, parent work orders, there are those tasks. You can see the different tasks that need to be executed for that particular phase. And underneath here you can see also phase 2 already, and also phase 3. And of course, by using this in the whole in the whole graphical scheduling large projects application, you can really maintain and manage a very large project by using Maximo work order functionality, of course, combined in this case with the IBM Maximo scheduler application to make it more graphical. And so here you really can see underneath the same thing that we talked about last time also in the scheduling webinar with all the availability and resources that you need for this project. And also one thing, of course, which was related to scheduler and also is an important part for today would be the forecast functionality of the PM schedule. I showed that already last time in scheduler, but now when I'm in scheduler, I'm thinking about that, of course. And today, of course, we talk about preventive maintenance, but you can also use this forecast functionality sort of in the same way, of course, like this, but the only difference would then be that there will be no actual work orders as said before. But then you can take into account those forecasted dates we talked about earlier. You can take them into account, let's say, in parallel of this kind of projects. And then you can take into account that on that certain moment, you should also have, you should also get and take into account that PM work order because it's already forecasted on that date. But yeah, this would really give an overview of how you could work with a project work order hierarchy by using just parent work order, child work orders, and making it graphical and by using IBM Maximo Scheduler. So, and with that, I want to conclude this webinar. I want to thank you all again for your attention during this webinar today. And well, this was the latest webinar of this year. So thank you for your attention during all the webinars, and just keep an eye on our socials to know and to learn about any upcoming sessions for next year, of course. So thank you all. Have a nice day, and we'll speak each other soon.